Hello, I am Paolo, and I am in virtual reality using my Oculus Rift in Facebook Spaces. This is a very cool app, and I'd like to give you a quick tour. Right now, as you can see, I am in Rome, and this beautiful photo has been taken by my friend Pietro Madaschi. So let's take a look how I can change background and go, for example, to Venice. The way I do it is just to browse more panoramic photos of my friends. And here is another photo by Pietro. And to change location, I just pull the sphere towards my head. And here it is. I am in Venice. And let's see if there is a gondola. Yes, there is a gondola. Now, I'd like to give you a quick demo of how you can use Matterport 3D virtual tours inside Facebook Spaces. I'm pulling my browser from behind my table. And this is my mouse. It's an actual pen. And I'm going to click right there in the middle. And let's see if this works. I'm going to go full screen. And this is a 3D virtual tour that I've done at Microsoft. And I can navigate around the tour. And do you recognize this guy? You can also trigger multimedia tags like YouTube videos, or check the entire 3D model using the dollhouse view or the floor plan. So this is really, really cool. I can even pick this pen and write like this, because what you're seeing here, it's really magic. Thank you.
So that is a super cool video that Angie found, produced by a gentleman named Paolo, and I don't want to butcher his last name, like Tussolini. He is at the forefront of Matterport technology and blending it with other forms of technology and platforms to make things like that, which is pretty incredible. He's about light years ahead of most of us, but it just kind of shows you that these are the things that can be done now, and you just can imagine what can be done in the future. So we're going to talk about artificial intelligence, VR, AR, and how they're changing the buying and selling experience. Artificial intelligence and the home search experience. Bots are going to continue to transform the buyer's online house hunting habits. Oh, by the way, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Susie Chamberlin-Dawes. I'm with 360 Tour Designs. We have a table out there. So, what is a bot, you ask, and how is it changing how buyers search for homes? Bots are simple computer programs used to perform highly repetitive operations like trawling for homes that fit a buyer's appetite of style, price, and location. So, for instance, think about like your inbox and the emails that Zillow sends you with everything that it thinks you want to see. So at one point you put in that you're looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home in Zionsville, and lo and behold, 2 years later, you're still getting these emails from Zillow about homes in Zionsville. Those, it's not people that are going through every single search and sending you, deciding what they think you want, or it's not a room full of elves that's deciding what you want. It's a computer program, and it's using algorithms to decide what you like. These are going to get more and more sophisticated. For instance, if you guys have ever experienced where you're thinking about maybe going to Paris, and then all of a sudden the next day your Facebook feed is full of a bunch of advertisements for trips to Paris. Like, it's kind of creepy. The real estate bots are starting to do the same thing. So as Amazon shares your data with Facebook and Facebook shares your data with Zillow Group is no longer just going to be looking at what 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home you want. They're going to be looking at, okay, so this guy, I used this example last one, this guy bought some skinny jeans and some bow ties, and he looks at reviews of restaurants, kind of indie restaurants in Broad Ripple, and he likes this type of music. We're going to send him home listings in Fountain Square. They're starting to understand not just the type of home you're looking for, but the entire style of home you're looking for by what pictures you look at on the internet. If you tend to stop and hover and click on pictures of contemporary style or contemporary architecture, it's going to send you, Zillow's going to start sending you things of contemporary style. So these things are getting more and more complicated and really interesting. Excuse me. So basically similar to experiences on sites like Netflix, Spotify, and Amazon, real estate search will be more custom and consumer friendly than ever before. So the next thing we're going to discuss is actually where Inman did a realtor versus bot experiment. They had to see kind of who would win. What they did was they took a buyer, and the buyer happened to be a real estate journalist and award-winning editor, so he knew his stuff. And then they took 3 realtors and a bot. And each day, the buyer would send just one MLS number. Nothing else, no description. They knew nothing about him, anything like that. And he would send one MLS number to the realtor and to the bot. And each one would have to come back with 6 properties that they picked for him, and he had to decide which ones he liked the best. Out of all 3 realtors in all 3 days, the bot won every single day and won 2 out of the 3. So the realtor, the living person, only got 1 out of 3 of his favorite picks. The buyer even said that he tried every day to figure out a pattern, to figure out, if it was the computer, if it was the person, and he couldn't do it. Pretty much the result of this, they say it better in the article than I can say it, so I'm just going to read the conclusion. So when it comes to bot versus broker, it is important that the industry face where there are holes in its traditional model. Once listings were put on the internet, the genie escaped from the bottle and it won't return. Those holes force focus, retrenchment, and change. The genie is out of the bottle. It has been for years, and the things that we're talking about right now, once again, you've heard this all day, are not going away. So I think it's important that we're prepared for them. I myself, I'm not a computer programmer, I'm not a developer, but I utilize these things on a daily basis, and more important, I think that I'm trying to be prepared to utilize what's coming, to stay ahead of the forefront. And so we may not always know. Something that's going to be the be-all, end-all of trends in technology in 2019, it could not even be in production yet. So that's how fast this changes. So just kind of knowing what's out there is going to help you be prepared when the next big thing does hit. The next big thing I think is pretty much a commonplace agreement is virtual reality, I would say. 3D walkthroughs, VR experiences, and immersion. Matterport, which I think some of you are familiar with, is one of these. Raise your hand if you're not familiar with Matterport. No judgment. Okay, we'll explain it a little more since there's a handful. Virtual reality will impact building tours in ways I cannot even fathom. This is coming soon and it has the potential to be one of the most profound changes in how the industry shows, tours, and views space. This was one that's not going away, guys. All right, Matterport is basically, it is a camera that goes in and scans a property, and once the scan is complete, you can literally do a complete walkthrough. This is an example I'll have playing in the background of one that we did actually in Chatham Hills here. But what it is you can walk through it. If Angie were using her mouse, she could literally look up, look down, scroll around, go
I personally like to jump off of balconies.
Yeah.
When I'm in here.
Super
just
cool.
To see if I can.
And then if you just want to hit play, then they can kind of see how it goes through the house as we talk. So it's literally a 3D model that you're showing that you're showing the buyer. One thing that probably most of you don't know, who even know Matterport, is that it is virtual reality capable. So some of you do, I can see heads nodding. So your company, your preferred photographer, media company, whoever you use, that you order a Matterport from, today, right now, it can be VR capable. So anybody with Google Cardboard or VR glasses, Samsung VR, they can put those on and they can be walking through this property, totally immersed in it. So these are things that, once again, the technology is there and it's just spreading. It's very attractive to millennials because they want to see everything right now, right? I say they, I'm technically millennial. I like to think I'm not, but I am. People from out of towners. I mean, you get buyers that never even step foot in the house, and they have an exact sense of space just by doing one of these. Also, high-end properties, very attractive to high-end sellers as well as buyers. High-end sellers and buyers, they want the best of the best, right? And they want to think they have the best of the best. If you guys, I'm not sure, is anybody familiar with the Altman brothers from Bravo $1 Million Listing? Okay, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. The Altman brothers, they do marketing for Matterport, and one of the videos that they discuss on there is how to break into high-end real estate. And they talk about needing to be on the forefront of technology such as Matterport to break into that high-end business, because the folks who are selling these, sometimes the Matterport might not be the thing that sells your property. You might only have 76 people view the Matterport in the week the property's on, on the market. However, you're also selling yourself as being on the forefront of that technology. Okay, so even the next step is going to be the Leica BLK 360. This camera is basically the same kind of thing as the Matterport. It does a complete 3D scan. However, it does outside as well. The Matterport does have, you can scan outdoors with a Matterport, but anybody that uses one knows that it is really difficult. You have to have the right kind of lighting. You can't have direct sunlight. It needs to be dawn or dusk. It's very difficult. The Leica, of course we got the link to work, and their link's not working. The Leica BLK 360 is, you can do it in direct sunlight any time of day, and it will map an entire neighborhood. The reason why I had chosen this one is basically what this would do if we clicked on that and their link was working, which of course they might have taken it down or something. We could go directly in here. That's a convention center. We could walk down the streets. We could walk around the building. Where this pertains to real estate is we now have the potential to have entire community 3D walkthroughs. So if you have someone that's moving to Indianapolis, say from California, and they want to know what Broad Ripple's like, okay, they've read some things, but they really want to know what it's like, you do a 360 view of the little bungalow and then the entire street and walk them down to the I can't remember what street it is, 56th or Westfield, whatever that is. They can literally walk down that from the comfort of their home in California. So these are the kind of things that are not just on the horizon, but they're available. I will say available because the Leica BLK 360, the base package is $20,000 for the camera. So either it's going to need to be cheaper, or realtors are going to want to pay less or pay more for their, for the services, and I doubt that's going to happen. So the camera's probably going to need to get a little cheaper, but it will. Either that or the demand will get high enough that it makes sense for folks like myself to buy a $20,000 camera. Concerns with virtual reality and the property buying and selling experience. Seller trepidation, just like what you talked about. I had this experience myself, where we had to do quite a bit of editing on a 3D walkthrough because the seller was excited about it and then finally saw it and they're like, ooh, they can walk into my closets, they can, so we turned off a lot of the areas and things like that. That's another thing, you guys, some tech knowledge right there, kind of knowing what can be done with this like we can turn off areas and turn them on and things like that. So those are things, knowledge you can arm yourselves with when you're talking with their seller if they have a bit of trepidation about that. The dollhouse view can be turned off. Anything that they might not be comfortable with, you know, the software can kind of work with. Mm-hmm.
So this is not a service. This is something you do.
Correct. And there's, I mean, pretty much, there's multiple companies here in the Indianapolis area that do. They, you know, not just myself, but yeah, it's a Matterport camera. We actually had a Realtor in the earlier session that I talked to that had their own Matterport camera. So yeah, it's something that there's multiple services that do it. So it's out there right now. Mm-hmm.
It's currently on listings in the VLC. So you'll come across them and you'll see another little icon under the picture that you can click through and it'll pull up a Matterport.
Now that you're saying that, I think I have.
Yeah. And like if you're on Realtor.com, where a virtual tour would be, it says like 3D tour.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The ability, now this is possibly something that you guys might have issues with, the ability to sell the property while on site. So you're feeling, okay, well, if all of these people are virtual reality walking through all these properties, how can I talk to them about, hey, this kitchen would look better, you know, don't worry about that kitchen, you can do this, or however you guys sell. I know that that's kind of a, well, we won't be able to do that. Actually, augmented reality is going to help you do that, and we're going to talk about that in the next segment. And then lack of buyer-agent interaction. Mm-hmm.
With this technology, can you like edit the videos, like say draw things out? You know what I'm saying?
You can't Photoshop them like you can photos, but they are working on virtual staging and things like that. Like with Roomy, Matterport and Roomy, it's in beta right now to where you could take an empty house like the one you were walking through and put furniture in it and things like that. Right, take out the clutter.
It won't clean your closets.
Right. I've had more than one agent be like, why didn't you put that one laundry room on there? Well, I can turn it on and I'll show you if you really want to see it. A lack of buyer-agent interaction. These are things that people can get scared about. However, if you really embrace the technology, it can actually increase communication between you and your clients rather than decrease it. The benefits: time, productivity, being able to have a larger client base, having your buyers have emotional connections to the property before they even get to it. So if they're doing a virtual reality experience in a home, and then they're doing it probably 10 times that night, because we all do that, right? When we like something and check it out again, oh, maybe I missed this. And then they're showing their spouse when they come home, and then they're showing their mom, like, look at this house I'm gonna go see on Sunday, you know? And so by the time they get to that house on Sunday with you, they already feel like they own it. That makes your job easier. The sense of ownership. And then this is discussing where virtual reality and augmented reality could top 2.6 billion by 2025. So of that 4 billion they were discussing earlier, 2.6 of that could be going to virtual reality and augmented reality. And 36% of respondents in a survey said they'd be comfortable attending an open house using virtual or augmented reality. So that's what, speaking of time, imagine yourselves, instead of spending an entire Sunday afternoon at one property, you spent your entire Sunday afternoon showing 4 or 5 via virtual reality. And you had a chat bot, which that's another discussion, that could answer all of your buyers' questions while they were happening. So you basically were just waiting for that buyer. Augmented reality in real estate. Applications and implications. So augmented reality is a bit different than virtual reality. Everybody know Pokemon Go? Or anybody remember Pokemon Go? Okay, that's a perfect example of augmented reality. Augmented reality is where you're taking real world information, you're blending it with digital. So you have your little Pokemon guy exactly in the space that you're looking at in real life. So augmented reality and property features. So this is one thing, once again, this is available today to you. There's plenty of companies doing it. It's not something that's way out there, and it's not something that's super cost prohibitive. You guys can do it. You take a Matterport 3D walkthrough, and you have these things called Matter tags, to where if they click on them, it brings up information about that feature that you want to highlight. So once granite countertops, if there's a Viking stove, they can click on it. It'll tell them all about their Viking stove. You can even do it to where when they open the door, it's a video of you discussing the property before they even start going through it. So these are all things available to you as of today. Virtual staging. So what we had discussed about the Matterport. Virtual staging is another thing that's starting to become more and more looked at. We'll discuss some of the issues with that in a minute as well. But basically, you take an empty room and digitally create it how you want it to appear. Here are some different augmented reality apps for real estate that are available. I have to make the disclaimer, I don't condone or condemn any of these. I'm not selling any of these. It's just some of the ones that are out there right now. HomeSpotter is similar to Realtor.com Street Peek, where if someone's going through a neighborhood, say they're walking through that Broad Ripple neighborhood, and they have their tablet or smartphone, they can be holding it out, and any of the properties that are for sale, the information is going to pop right up for them, right in front of that. So it's just walking around like this. Magic Plan, this one's super cool. You can create a floor plan within minutes. So if you're at a home and say the living room is covered in just nasty 1970s shag carpeting, not cool retro, awful retro, and it's the first room that you walk into with your buyers, and they're like, while they're checking out the kitchen, you could have scanned the room, put some information in, and come in and talk to them, a few minutes later and say, hey, I know you guys don't like that. I know we say cosmetic changes. Real world, it's going to cost you $1,875. That's it, to put hardwood flooring in there. You can literally enter that information in this app. It'll give you quotes of how much things will cost to change, all of that. Curate by Sotheby's is where you can do the same thing, except for that's with furniture and styles. So you can be in a home and you can have, you can be walking around with your tablet, and all of a sudden you can have your Chip and Joanna Gaines moment with your buyer. Say, hey, but this is what it would look like contemporary. This is what it would look like, in a traditional style. So it's really cool stuff that you can do. And once again, these are things that are available. The technology is always getting better, always changing. Haven't tested all of these out, but they are definitely out there for you. One thing I thought about, I didn't mention in the first group, is imagine this. Imagine you guys are in are showing properties to a buyer, and you happen to have one listing yourself, and you've gotten a Matterport on it in VR, and you happen to have your VR goggles with you, and you say, hey, I've got another property, it's across town, put this on, see if you want to go see it. If they walk through it and they say, no, you just saved yourself, an hour of your day by giving them an entire experience. Or if they look through it and they're like, heck yeah, you can cross a couple off your list because you already found the one they want, that sort of thing. Realtor.com Street Peek, same thing as, kind of the same thing as the one we just discussed, where they can just hold it out and see the information on the homes.
Introducing Street Peek for Android, available only on Realtor.com. The functionality is state-of-the-art augmented reality and is easy to use. Start with a tap on the camera icon in the app. Then aim your phone at any home to see the price, number of beds and baths, and more. Pan your phone to the left or right to check out other neighborhood homes. When the bubble appears, just tap it to go directly to the listing page for that home. Street Peek also lets you find out about the neighborhood and what's nearby, just by tilting your phone to the ground. Locate other homes, schools, restaurants, and more.
And most of the buzz in recent years has been centered on the possibilities of virtual reality and touring spaces remotely using headsets. But for those who can still get to the space in person, augmented reality may be a way to build a deeper impression of a property. So basically just explaining, it's going to give them just a deeper emotional connection. You pull out that tablet, you show them what it looks like in their style. You show them what it can look like. However, there may be some ethical implications of augmented reality in the home buying and selling experience. How about providing inaccurate picture of a property? If you're using virtual staging and you're, covering up that, not just clutter, but covering up that gash in that wall or that big stain in that carpet, things like that, is that ethical? At what point do we get to where someone in the last one said, I was at this point, and they're like, when it makes it a lie? So these are some things that are just, this is new stuff. We're all figuring it out. So, once again, just things to think about when you're experimenting with these new technologies. There we go. Does anybody have any questions or anything? All right. So everybody's going to use their technology, right?
Thank you.